Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our second um, edition, I should say, or second version of the April Fräsch class. If you're new to Fräsch, Fräsch is a company that manufactures ceiling, lighting, wall, and also divider acoustical products. We are located in Dallas, Texas, actually to be exact, in Arlington, Texas, where we manufacture all the products. My name is Slavi Younger, and I will be your host today. Thank you so much for joining us. Greatly appreciated. Just want to say hi. Let me turn off my camera so it's not in my face, and we will get started. All right, so what are we talking about today? So we are going to be talking about 1468 line of products that we carry. If you're familiar with Fräsch and you've been using our products, picking our products for a while, you do know about 1468. The reason we are doing this class and sort of a relaunch of 1468 is because for several months now we have spent a lot of engineering time to redesign all the products to appear the same, but be able to use a 9mm material so we can improve the price point, right? So that's the exciting part. I mean, how often do you hear that, hey, we actually made something, figure out how to make something less expensive, and we're going to pass on all the savings over to you, right? Especially these days when prices are going up everywhere we turn. It's really amazing. So just a quick refresher of who is 1468. 1468 is a design firm based in UK. I actually was able to do an interview with the two founders of the company because we're all in so different time zones. We did pre-record that, and I'm gonna let these guys tell you a little more about what they're all about. So here it comes. I have a special treat for you guys today. We were talking about 1468 products on this webinar, and who I have with me today is Frankie and Daniel. They are the guys that are behind the 1468 design and products. And just kind of, if I was to pull back a curtain a little bit about how we connected, it's really kind of a modern story. We actually were admirers of our work online, and we've really met online, right? So it's one of those modern things. So they're coming to us from far away, right? We have Daniel Hill from South Africa, and Frankie is in UK. So I just want to have them tell you guys a little bit about their inspiration, who they are, and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of fun to see into the brains of the guys that create stuff. So first question for you guys is, how did you even get into product design? And maybe tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Thanks first of all for the time, Slavi. Really appreciate it. So essentially, I grew up in a very artistic family. My mother is in ballet, my dad's in graphic design, exhibition design, and I pretty much just grew up around that. And it was a natural progression that I started following design and architecture. And once I finished school, I went and studied architecture and interior architecture. And essentially working in that environment, sort of came across having to design various bespoke items to suit those spaces. You just couldn't find what you were looking for on the market. And that's where the product design sort of development for myself came from, and just carried on from there. Been working for 25 years in the industry. I started out in South Africa, then moved out to Dubai for 10 years, worked in the Middle East, and been in the UK now for 4 years, working with architectural firms before actually branching off and essentially with Daniel starting 1468.
From my side, I've had a creative agency for over 20 years now. And with that came a passion for product design and creative process. And Frankie and I got together, and I just love that journey of discussing concepts and seeing them through to the prototyping stage and into our catalog. Yeah, and it brings me great joy and a sign of accomplishment to see what we've designed in its intended environment. And we just love design.
Yeah, no, that's great. And, you know, it absolutely makes a perfect sense, right? Sort of seeing the need, right? Because there's holes in the market, understanding how that works. And then, you know, Daniel's eye for how to represent something, how, you know, how to put it out there is really, really great. So so obviously a lot of your inspiration comes from seeing what's needed, but what are the other areas that you find inspiring?
Well, I love Mark Twain's quote. I don't know if you've heard it, saying there's no such thing as a new idea. It's impossible. We simply take a lot of old ideas, put them together, and kind of sort it into a mental kaleidoscope. And then we give it a bit of a turn and we make, you know, new and curious combinations. I think for me, I get inspiration from nature and great design. I mean, there's a lot of great design out there. Nature and architecture is where I get my design inspiration from.
Elaborating on that, essentially, it's not just the design process that we focus on. It's about offering a solution to architects and designers, even the end users, the clients. You know, things can look great, but you know, it's all about the form and the function, all collaborating together for an end product and for an end sort of project. You know, everything needs to work together in harmony. And that's what it's about. It's not just that we, you know, specifically focus on a product. It's what does that product do within a space? How does it react with people and their emotions and things like that? And you know, that inspiration, as Dan sort of mentioned, you know, nature, other architectural projects. You know, it doesn't really matter. It's just bringing it all together and trying to essentially create something different with that. Every line has been drawn. It's just how you rearrange those lines to create something really, really interesting.
Specifically to your pieces, right? When you look at them, I always like to describe your stuff, especially with ceiling products, sort of like almost like a floating work of art, right? It kind of adds a whimsy and some movement to it, and it doesn't come across as saying, hey, I am here to absorb sound, right? That it really just kind of looks like it belonged, right? You know, sometimes people are like, oh, this looks really complex, you know, they get a little scared, but talk to us a little more about what you touched on is the functionality and the ease of installs and ease of assembly and how it kind of goes together, and those things that are really actually the important parts in a design.
Yeah, I mean, sustainability is one of the big things. It's at the forefront of everybody's conversation within design these days. So finding PET rather, you know, was sort of fell into our lap. It's a great material. It's sustainable. It's obviously recycled plastic bottles. It's 100% recyclable at the end of the day. So we took that material and, you know, obviously it comes in flat sheets, and we wanted to create something three-dimensional, sort of take that flat form and really create something interesting. And as you mentioned, you know, something that fits into a space. We wanted to create landscapes within spaces. You know, ceilings with architects are often sort of neglected, and with the products we've designed, we feel that sort of adds a lot of excitement back into designing ceilings and designing those interesting spaces with the function of acoustic performance within the product itself. So taking that idea of a flat two-dimensional piece of material and developing it into three-dimensional forms is pretty much where it all started. You know, we wanted to do something really different and add that interest into the product, which then essentially goes into the spaces. Even though a lot of the product looks quite complex to put together, it's a really simple process. So sticking with the sustainability aspect of it all, we wanted to avoid any sort of mechanical fixings and glues and just keep it almost pure in a way, just to take the PET material and use that. So we developed friction slot systems, so everything fits together. The systems are highly modular, so whether a client has a 10 square meter space or 100 square meter space, you could take that same product and just build it up in its modules to cover whatever space is required. And that's really it. It's a really simple process, and simplicity is normally the best way to go. Once you start over designing and over complicating things, it becomes exactly that, just overthought. So we wanted to keep it simple, but still create something really, really interesting. And the friction slot systems have worked out absolutely, fantastically for the products we design.
What's next on the horizon for you guys?
I think, well, there's a lot of, our minds are never stop going. We're in the design process 24/7. But for the moment, what I focus on at the moment is the acoustic lighting. So we really want to open up that category, and because we have so many ideas and products in mind that we want to develop, and we've developed a few so far, which we're about to prototype.
We do sound lights too. We don't do that much with it, but I'm always also the addition of the whole shadows and all that. It just gives it another thing to the product, right? It's like that's maybe why all designers are, I think, attracted to. I want to do one light, in a design. Every designer, everybody's like, I just want to create one, like a light. There's always like this one light. It's just gonna do like magic, right, for us. So anyway, anything else as we wrap up? Anything else that you want to add to this conversation that maybe I forgot to ask about?
What's next on the horizon? We're just going to continue to come up with new products. Work with Fräsch. I think the collaboration has been absolutely outstanding. It's been such a working with other design-minded people, sort of in the direction that we're going. It's just an absolute fantastic collaboration, and we absolutely love it. So it's just that continuous development of new product to bring out onto the market. So yeah.
Yeah, well, we at Fräsch can only echo the sentiment. We absolutely have enjoyed it. I can tell you people love what you guys make. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I know we are all in different time zones, so I do appreciate everybody finding a little time in a day, a night to do this. Thanks again, and we'll speak soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Slavi. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. So that was the interview with Frankie and Daniel. Aren't they great? That was probably an accent overload. I hope you guys enjoyed it, not finding frustrated. Yeah, so as you can see, we are sort of from all over the place, but yeah, they're really, really great guys. So by the way, we will release the full interview around the same time as you guys get the presentation. We spoke for about 30 minutes, so there's some things that you didn't get to see. But just really quickly, what is 1468 about, which they have touched on, is they do take the sustainability to yet another point, right? They're using PET, PET just like all of our products, which is really, you guys are familiar how that works. But furthermore, there's no glue. Everything is tongue and groove, friction assembly. Everything is shipped flat, so even the carbon footprint that comes from shipping is very greatly reduced. And obviously, their stuff is really one of the kind. It doesn't look like just a copy of something else, which we absolutely love. So let's get to the part why we're actually really meeting today, which is what we've changed and what these changes will mean for you, your customer, and all of that. So we have re-engineered together with the 1468 guys the product to be able to use 9mm PET felt instead of 12. So that's the first change. And I'll talk a little bit more why and what that has done for us. We have simplified the hardware and also the installation instructions. We have, listening to you guys, everyone that uses Fräsch products is familiar with the hardware we use. So we kind of try to, like, there is a strength in simplicity, there's a strength in what you know. So we have simplified the hardware. You guys also said that we've heard from you is, you're used to looking at our installation instruction, our spec sheet. So all the spec sheets and all the installation instruction, essentially all documentation has been remade under sort of the Fräsch template. So you guys have hopefully an easier time reading through it, and also when you're sort of combining with other Fräsch products. All these changes also, the big thing that we're doing here is we were able to improve the price point, right? So we maintained the look and performance while we are able to reduce the price. So how and why, right? So the pretty big cost in 1468 products comes from using 12 millimeter PET. If you have seen 9 and 12, you sort of probably know what I'm talking about, right? How they look. But changing from 9 to 12, the sort of the obvious question that I imagine you might get is like, well, what did it do for performance, right? What is that going to do? Well, as you know, with acoustics, more sound absorptive materials better. So from that perspective, 9 millimeter would absorb more if everything was the same, right? However, the other things that do matter in how the material will perform is the material's density, thickness, and stiffness and surface area, right? So I did a quick little chart to kind of explain it. Everything that I turn orange is what you prefer, what is better in order to increase absorption. So the more you increase density, it means you are removing the air pockets, air cavity, therefore less is being absorbed. So when it comes to sound absorption, you actually you want as little density as possible, right? In perfect world, if you just went for the absorption, really just a poofy cotton, that you could squeeze would be essentially one of the better option. I've already touched on thickness. That's definitely 12 has an advantage there. Stiffness is very similar to density, right? Again, the harder the material gets, less absorptive it becomes. The other part is surface texture, right? If you've seen 9 and 12 next to each other, the way 9 is made, because you can press it down, right? That's kind of where we see the density, but you also, the 9 tends to be a little more fuzzy, right? And all that fuzziness, all that unevenness is actually good for sound absorption. As we know, one of the worst things for reflection or reverberation is flat and hard surfaces. So even though the thickness difference between 9 and 12 is really 30%, it doesn't show up in the NRC ratings, right? Noise reduction coefficient. They're really quite similar. The 12 is definitely not 30% higher. It's pretty relatively small number. So the main reason we did this is, again, talking to you guys, right? Listening to our customers. People love 1468. They love how eye-catchy it is and how interesting it is. But they really oftentimes think, so be like, well, I don't know that the price point is one that this particular project can afford. It just seemed like we're missing definitely a pretty big chunk of potential projects because of price, right? So even though 9 and 12, we're talking 30% difference in thickness. Price-wise, it's essentially twice as much, almost, right? It is because it requires more material. They have to make it denser in order to get it stable at 12 millimeter, right? So it's not just because they want to use more material. In order to get it stiff like that at 12, you just have to essentially do it different. So changing the material definitely creates a substantial cost reduction. And what we have done is, instead of pocketing that, we decided we're going to pass on all the savings onto you guys, because, you know, we want to make sure that 1468 takes over the world, right? Or at least United States. That's the part we are working in. So just to kind of show you guys what that means as far as numbers, here's just a quick snapshot of the pricer. By the way, we have attached a full pricer in handouts. You can download it right here under handouts. So please feel free to do that there. You can see it's pretty substantial, right? The changes range depending how much of the product costs are related to the material and how labor intensive it is. So as you go through our book, there's some where you see there's a lot of perforation, right? So there's more labor time, more machine time. So the difference is not as dramatic as you see these. So that's the price, right? The other thing that this has done is now you have 13 more colors to work with. Our offering of 9mm products or colors is bigger than 12. I know they're probably gonna now miss out on some of the if your customers 12 was the perfect color they wanted to do. So sorry about that. However, what we do hear more of is that they're already doing some other Fräsch product in their project, and they would like to have exact match. And unfortunately, maybe the thing that are choosing out of the 34 and 9mm doesn't have an exact match in the 12. So hopefully this will over time create also a simplicity of speccing, simplicity of selling. So you guys know I like to ask a question, one or two questions, just because, you know, I'm talking into an ether. I feel like I'm talking to myself. So this is kind of the participation part. So which of the products out of the 1468 collection is your favorite? Is the one. So first option is dew, second is timber, and third is vine, and fourth one is for you guys that are new to us and new to 1468 is that you just don't have a favorite yet. Cool. Oh, this is so interesting. You know, the breakdown between what you guys are choosing is so different. It's so different. I guess a very different kind of group gets to join the afternoon session versus the morning session. Cool. So about 70% of you answered, and 22 of you guys love dew, 17 love timber, 6 like vine, and interestingly enough, 56% of you say do not have a favorite yet. You're still learning about 1468, which is amazing. Which just means there's so much room for growth when it comes to 1468. That is actually kind of, you know, it's kind of exciting. So that's great. Thank you for answering. You know, in the afternoon sessions, I think we do have more, probably the West Coast guys, just because the time. I know that West Coast was one of the latest ones to sort of open up as far as COVID. So maybe you guys now will get to go run around and tell people like, well, let me show you what I have to show you that doesn't look like anything else. So let's take a quick look at a few of the products. I did not include everything. You can absolutely see all the products on our website. They're marked as 1468. 1468 has products in ceiling and divider category. So cluster is a brand new product we just added. You know, it's everything you'll see. It's the tag and groove technology. You know, this is one of those. It gives you kind of a really interesting thing. You can again play with the colors. You can define space using pockets of this, or really kind of go for miles. Timber. This is actually one of the favorites. You can get it in 4, 6, and 8 feet long. It's just a really cool, different way to do a baffle, right? It's very different. It doesn't look like, it's definitely not like another Me Too, but you know, and actually messed up. I didn't choose one of those, but I think actually even I've seen them installed vertically, and that actually creates a very, very interesting look as well. Another one is Vine, you know, just again, another take on how can you sort of assemble a piece for over conversation, over traffic area where, you know, you want sort of something interesting in the ceiling, but also absorb the sound in the space. Harmony, one of my favorites. This comes in as perforated or solid. Again, everything I put in here is perforated. Sorry about that. And again, this one is definitely a conversation piece. They look very impressive in person. And again, really good over conversation, especially anytime you have a product that's sort of like a dome-like shape. That works exceptionally well to kind of grab and hold the noise from a conversation, so it doesn't have a chance to kind of bounce all over the place. Pollen is you know, kind of what you actually kind of see quite a bit of. I mean, I think as we talk more about biophilia and shapes from the nature, I think that's why you kind of see the hexagon in so many designs these days. With pollen, you can keep it open or fill it in every so often with a piece. You can also define, you know, what the perforation will be, the cutout will be like. The photo actually on the left is an install in an architectural firm in UK, and I was like, what is the center thing? So that's actually a 1468 take on the DNA, which is what you know, what they did for these guys right there. I think it looks actually really cool. Do is actually been #1 seller for us. It's really it's really interesting. You know, I actually just got some really amazing photography that I wanted to add in here, but I just ran out of time. You know, they come in just 2 shapes. It's really kind of pretty basic, right? But it's so interesting what you can do just by changing the color and how you choose to assemble it, right? It can be, you know, it can be in just sections, or it can be sort of like a thing that flows and continues. Yeah, it's a really interesting one. All right, so let's look at a few dividers. By the way, guys, if you have any questions at all, please put them in the question section, and I will grab them all at the end and answer them for you. Kaya is one of the dividers. It actually has the ability to have multi-pieces on the inside, so you can make it really, really sound absorptive and also pretty robust. It's sold in pieces, right? So you can really decide how you're going to assemble it, what it is that you need. And also, of course, you can take it apart, move it, or assemble it as something else, right? A lot of flexibility here. I love hide. You know, every time I see hide, I'm like, this should be in every library and every college campus, right? Just imagine these guys. They're just so fun. I just imagine in like, you know, in school colors, right? It's, again, absorbs a lot of sound, but also gives you the visual privacy as well, which, you know, which is certainly a great thing. Swarm is actually very similar to pollen. This is just has slight adjustments to it, to the design, so it can be a floor piece. So actually, if you wanna do a ceiling but carry some of that look onto the floor, the swarm and pollen work really, really well together. And the final thing I was going to show you is acoustical lighting, which, you know, in the interview, I kind of made fun of all the product designers I've ever met, that everybody always feels like I have one light in me. Well, guess what? When we saw Harmony and Timber, we're like, oh, this is just itching to be a light, right? So these two products are available also with the lighting option. The Timber, there's a tubular light that goes on inside. It comes in 4, 6, and 8 lengths, and then the Harmony has a center light in a center, and obviously you get a very different look if you go with the perforation versus if you keep it solid. So that is kind of it, except a quick question for you guys. I don't know why this kind of always gets stuck a little bit like this. Okay. What do you feel about what you've seen is essentially the question. Do you think that the change in price point will make 1468 product more accessible, right? I know you guys didn't get to peruse all the details in the pricer, but I've shown you a few things. So the options are yes. The second one is no, just kidding, yes. So you got 2 yeses. And the final one is not sure, I'm going to need to take a closer look, which is, not sure, or a kind way to say no. So take a, just take a look, let me know your input on that. We hope it from what we have heard is it's definitely an eye-catching product, right? A lot of people wanna consider it, right? So we're hoping this will help. So the answers are, thank you guys. If I combine 1 and 2, we are at what is that? Almost, yeah, 80%. Of you guys say yes, it definitely will help, but the other one says that they need to take a closer look. So that's great. Yes, so we will revisit this again, and we'll see how you're doing, what is working, what is not, and we are always work in progress. So that is kind of it. Just really quick touch on what 14688 is. Primary thing we wanted to tell you guys is that we spent a lot of time redesigning it from 12 to 9, which did not affect the look of it, and it did not affect the performance of it, but it allowed us to cut the cost, which we're passing on to the customer. The final announcement section that we do at the end is we are offering 15-day quick ship program on 3 of our favorites: Strata wood, panel, and brick. What my guys are telling me, it's like 15 days. It will be shipped 15 days from the day we get what they're calling clean PO. So I'm sure you guys in the business know what that means. Once we know exactly what color you want and where it's going, all that kind of good stuff, we can get it out in 15 days. Obviously, it is a color inventory specific. So if we happen to be out of a color, then we would not apply to that one. The next time you can join us for this class is May 25th. We'll be focusing on walls. We have quite a few molded pieces we want to talk to you guys about. We'll talk about the acoustical choices you have. We really will talk about how to even utilize the PT to combine, statement wall, mosaic, or signage and things like that. So you sort of address 2 things, right? Things that you would need to put up there anyway, but doing it out of PET will kind of takes care of 2 things, right? It's the signage, the statement piece, as well as the sound absorption. So that is it for us today. Thank you guys for joining us. Let me take a look if you have any questions. Let's see, so I can answer those for you. Can you customize the cutouts for harmony perforated, for example, tribal designs? Yes. So if you guys have some ideas, you can send it. We would optimize it for the available space. But the answer is yes. Short answer is yes. We can change that. Is cluster running line product now and removed from R&D? So, hey Scott, so for now it's in clusters in R&D, primary because it's just the amount of work it takes to build all the documentation around it, right? But Outside of that, yes, cluster is very popular. It's here to stay, and I would just feel comfortable speccing it as you go, and just give us a little time to get all the boring stuff right after you created them, the boring stuff of paperwork, get all that caught up as well. All right, I think that is it. Thank you guys so much again for joining us. You guys make this always so fun. Tell your friends that we do this. So definitely the crowds are growing, which we appreciate, but we are never satisfied. If you need to get a hold of me, my email address is sy@fräsch.com. The Smarties group of people is behind quotes@fräsch.com. Those are our estimators. They will help you figure out how much product you need, help you quote things. They support 14688 products just the same as they do everything else. So even if you are like, hey, the customer wants it's leaning towards this or that, I need help with knowing how much. All the same stuff works just as it always worked before. Thank you guys again. Really appreciate you, and we will see you on the next one.